The chime sounded, indicating that the cameras were recording, but he couldn't hear it through his helmet, only the artificial warm tones of the ship's mind in his headset saying, "I am ready to record, Ensign," brought his eyes up. He seemed to be an intelligent specimen, for a human, perhaps 24 to 28 of their cycles old, seated in their odd bipedal fashion, short, dark, fibrous hair, dark eyes with more dark hair and bushy tufts above them, an odd, sandy brown hide with a wide nasal appendage, and dark lips. Human faces were so strange. How did they seem to see so well, with only 2 small eyes? Did that thing on their face really let them smell? What must it be like to taste the air without using a hand tongue? This wasn't important now. The human was going to speak. He opened his mouth as if to start, then closed it again, the muscles along the jaw showing stiff through his sandy skin. He considered for a moment, seeming to stare through the cameras into the vastness out upon which his message would be broadcast. His, what they called nostrils, seemed to flare, and then something at the back of his jaw seemed to compress it, as if he were eating or palpitating some sort of membrane. Had he swallowed something? Then he opened his mouth again and spoke. "This is Ensign Federico Carr of the good ship Guardian." The human paused, as if burdened by some inner thought. "It is my duty to inform you that I am all that remains of the crew, and that the Guardian is the only ship still holding some atmosphere from all the ships of the Bountiful Relief Expedition." He looked to a screen or display of some kind to his left, and there was a milky white residue on him from the bottom of his right ear down onto his neck, and continuing until the suit collar covered his hide. It seemed he'd been burned or injured in some way. "At the moment, Guardian is a light minute from Bountiful, and from what I can see with Guardian's remaining sensors, the Marines are still holding the Northern Pole, and fighting like they always do. It looks like a Bodegan Light Festival down there. They will hold the ground, but only if Guardian can clear the battle space above them." He paused again, leaning forward to manipulate something below the cameras. "I'm attaching all of our telemetry, targeting and comms data, as well as Sally's war diary to this transmission. With your permission, Sally." "Of course, Ensign Carr," came the disembodied reply of the ship's mind. "Thanks, Sally." The human managed a small twitch of his face. A smile it was called, right? These damn walking apes were so hard to read. The task force was able to surprise the unknown ships raising Bountiful, and we lifted the siege, blasted 6 of their cans before they could boost out to the planetary gravity well. But all the orbits are trashed. This place will have rings for the tourists to stare at if we keep it. And we even got the Marines off 10 minutes faster than Regs, before we got bounced by some kind of invisible ships after our dropships made planetfall. They got the Ticonderoga, with her launching bays open, and she went up like a damn hand grenade. The Admiral had the Geitz alongside for missile defense, and she ate it too. The young human lowered his head and shook it back and forth slowly, a sign of regret or perhaps unwillingness to accept the loss of his fellow humans. Sally and the skipper figured there were 3 of the damn things. The skipper noticed you can still trace the engine 6 if you tune the multi-spectrum stuff to look just for 1.2 to 1.4 nm emissions. The specifics will be in our targeting data and Sally's diary. The humans must be very resourceful. In the lessons it said that it had taken nearly 10 home cycles to figure that ionizing radiation trick out when fighting the hidden ships, and they'd picked it up in only a single engagement. We couldn't get a good lock on them though, and it seems like every time we'd narrowed down their position, they'd shut down their engines and coast for a while. But they can't make course changes when they do that, so you have a line in space to concentrate on when they pop back up. That's how Leonie got 2 of them. Her skipper had the ship's mine drive all her missiles right to the engine 6, but they left no flops for manoeuvring, and the 3rd one got her. That 3rd bastard hit us too. The point defense got most of the inbounds, but we took 3 solid hits. The main guns are gone. The bridge is gone, and engineering as well as combat control vented. Everyone in there got pulled out of the hull. I was in forward targeting with my fire control team. I'm not sure how we didn't take a hit there either, but I lost Chief Santos and Technician Wu when the power relay going to the number 2 gun detonated. We were trying to get the gun back up so we could maybe nail the third bastard when he shows himself again. He paused again, lowering his eyes and seeming to stare into a place far, far away. Chief was a good man, and Wu, she was really holding the division together. Lieutenant Jas wanted the skipper to recommend her to an officer program. They were good shippies. For a moment his eyes seemed to glaze over with a kind of shimmering wetness, but then he blinked twice and 2 pads came in from the front collar of his helmet and touched his face. When they retracted, the wetness was gone, although the white of his dark eyes had grown somewhat red. This was truly fascinating. What did it mean? I've got no offensive weapons left, not that I can shoot or launch anyways, but I've got 4 BGM-1120s stuck in their tubes, and they've got the big warheads on them. When that bastard pops back up, Sally and I have a surprise for him. The Marines have enough ammo and food to last 18 standards, twice if they combat ration and take casualties, so that means by the time you get this, you'll have 10 days to come relieve them, or you'll have some pissed off hungry jarheads to deal with. Ensign Carr, I am detecting the signature emissions again. It appears to be frosting for a polar flyover. It will be at its closest point of approach to us in 2 minutes. The human's face went blank, like a stone slab face smile devoid of its former animation. Well, this is it. Sally, calculate a 0 CPA intercept. Use maximum emergency thrust. Arm the warheads. Will detonate when the bow stabs that civilian murdering fuck right in the gut. Prepare all remaining point defense systems and concentrate their fire 000 by 000 relative. Execute boost when the enemy reaches CPA on its current course. Aye, Captain. It has been an honor to serve with you. Thanks, Sally, but I'm not the skipper, and this has probably been the shortest command in naval history. Let's just make sure we get some payback. An inkling of some kind of emotion seemed to return to his face, almost like the beginnings of a violent grin. Then it quickly faded, and his eyes focused once more on the camera. Those eyes, they were piercing. There was no way to look away from that gaze. For a moment, time seemed to slow from the pain and loss, and was it hope in those eyes? Marie, I know I told you I was coming home, but it's not about me anymore. I have to keep those dumb grunts alive. No one else can. I'm sorry. I hope you'll forgive me for making a promise I couldn't keep. I love you. I've always loved you. The power in his eyes faded, and time again felt to plod along as it was supposed to, as it always had. Boost in 10, 9, 8. Sally, music. Classics. Artist, AC/DC. Song, Highway to Hell. In the background, and in his headset, a staccato kind of that odd human music began to play. Boosting, chimed the mind's voice. The portions of the human visible suddenly seemed to fall backward away from the cameras, and his face seemed to flatten. Behind him, sparks and pieces of unidentifiable flotsam fell away out of view. Then there was an insistent pounding noise barely audible through the thin remaining atmosphere of the ship. Point defense engaging incoming. 0 CPA intercept in 15 seconds. Through obvious strain from the forces pressing on his body, the human pushed out. Sally, end recording. Upload and eject FTL drone. Aye, sir. Just as the recording ended, the scratchy male human voice in the classical song recording yelled, "I'm on the highway to hell," amid the raucous sounds of unknown human instruments. Then, the human's face, now nearly obscured as his helmet screen darkened, disappeared, replaced by a blue screen, with a Society of Instructors crest standing in the center. The student reached to its neural slot and removed the plug, dropping it back into the reel. "Did he die?" it asked of the instructor floating behind the control dais. "Oh yes, most definitely. This is a record of the bountiful encounter when the humans first met the hiding claws. All the human spacefarers perished, but that one he did preserve many of the ones they call Marines." "And then what happened?" it asked, floating closer. The instructor considered for a moment, then said, Well, young one, before they met our human friends, our name for the hiding clause was the killing clause. But it has been many, many cycles since we were saved.